Hey guys, welcome to Porch Talk with Rick Rose. I am your Dane County Supervisor from District 16, sitting in the hot seat today. It's really not a hot seat, but maybe temperature-wise, it's a hot seat.
A little bit.
It's John Bauman, who is our Juvenile Court Administrator here in Dane County. Thank you, John, for joining me.
Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. So I'm the Juvenile Court Administrator for Dane County, and I've been in this position since 2008, and then many years before that have worked with kids in the county in different nonprofits and other organizations. So my role as a Juvenile Court Administrator is to oversee a department for Dane County called the Juvenile Court Program. The Juvenile Court Program consists of 4 different programs. The Juvenile Reception Center, JRC for short, is one that many folks have heard of. When police arrest a juvenile on something fairly serious, they bring them to JRC. My staff then make a decision on temporary custody. Should this youth be held in detention until the next day when there's court? Should they go home? Should they go to our shelter home or something else? So they really are a decision-making body to try to take into account community protection concerns, temporary placement needs, supervision needs for that youth to try to keep them from getting in further trouble in that short term.
Yeah, and every situation is different, and you try to personalize that.
Absolutely. It's all very personalized, and a lot of information is gathered from parents, from police, from the youth, from collateral contacts, from history, a lot of things, to try to make a decision based on that youth's unique situation and all the facts around whatever happened. Yeah, so that's JRC, and JRC is really that decision-making body for the county on temporary custody for youth justice involved kids. And that's also something that's different than the child welfare side of the system.
All right.
So if a baby or any youth actually from 0 to 18 years old is abused or neglected or something, there's a similar process, but Human Services has social workers that make that decision. Does this young child or child in general need to be temporarily somewhere else? Not detention, that's not a part of that, but they decide, does this youth need to be removed from the home to keep them safe?
Put in a foster home.
Correct.
Yeah, and that's where we have common ground, because of my work. That's where CASA Volunteer would get involved as well. So that's cool.
Yep, absolutely. So JRC is one of the programs. Juvenile detention is the other. So is one of the others. So juvenile detention is a 30-bed co-ed facility that's in the city county building on the 2nd floor, and detention is a temporary program for youth that have court pending. So a court is going through the process, youth can be there, and they could be there from 1 day to a number of months, all depending on how long court takes to conclude or come up with an alternate plan while court is still pending. And that alternate plan might be back home, it might be to our shelter home, or it might be somewhere else. But detention's the secure place.
And that makes sense, and there's some public safety there, as you said as well. But I tell you, John, what was moving for me is when you gave me the tour a couple of weeks ago, meeting the young people that were in there. They're like, "That's the big boss." And they were so comfortable with everybody. Yeah. And one of the young women spoke, and it still moved me. And you said to her, "Now you're getting out soon." She's like, "Yeah, I'm getting out like really soon." You're like, "Please do your best not to come back on the other side," meaning the jail. And she promised you she wouldn't.
Yes.
That was great to hear.
I hope she's able to be successful. You know, they're kids. We're working with kids, even though some of them have done things that are pretty hurtful to people and hurtful to their property. They're still kids, and you see that come through when you talk to them.
Yes.
And I've had over my years a number of occasions where I've been able to have focus groups with kids to try to figure out what can we do as a system to try to help. You know, either now, immediately, going forward for that youth and similar youth, or what could be done for younger kids that doesn't result in them landing in detention eventually.
And that makes sense. You hear a lot about lived experience, and it's a catchphrase that's easier for us to do. But what I love about that focus group, you told me a very poignant thing. When you were asking them about their needs, quite often their number one desire or need is what?
Is adults in their lives, and that across all different focus groups in communication with youth about what would help you stay out of trouble, what would have helped you as you were growing up, all those things. Adults in our lives is something that even the toughest kids can voice one way or another.
I love hearing that.
That's parents, that's just mentors, that's neighbors, that's adult father, mother figures,
navigators,
someone to help figure out life. And
love it.
Many of us were fortunate to have those folks in our lives growing up, but a lot of the kids that we have, for a variety of reasons, just haven't had that that level of adult in their life. And
in all the youth work I've done, John, I agree with you. It's like they didn't ask for this, and I said that a lot to kind of put it on a basic term. It's like you're born into a family. You don't know what that structure looks like. Everyone has the right to have a child. I get that, but that's why that's moving to me. That you listen to them and do what you can for them.
Yeah. And as a result, we started a mentoring pilot through some other agencies, but I'm a part of many different work groups.
Yeah, sure.
Try to improve the system in general, which is important. And we started a mentoring pilot, and then it developed into a program.
I love this.
Really trying to listen, trying to figure out what would be effective, because locking a kid up, it certainly keeps them from stealing another car for that short amount of time they're locked up. They're not locked up for a long time, so that's not a solution in the juvenile system, nor is it designed to be a solution in statute. It's it's treatment. It's trying to rehabilitate while protecting the community, but all designed to be relatively short term. So we need to figure out what will be most effective
in that shortest term to get them back out and have a.
And listening to youth, listening to parents, and using lots of other inputs is the way to go.
I love that. So then third.
So the third program is the juvenile shelter home. So shelter home is on the east side of Madison off of Atwood Avenue.
Great little neighborhood to be in.
Yeah, it's a very nice neighborhood. Yeah, a lot of fun stuff going on there.
Yeah, exactly.
So shelter is a 16-bed co-ed facility that is not locked. It's like a dorm in a lot of ways, where it's a split sleeping rooms for males and females. And kids can go out to school, they can go out to appointments, home visits, work, all those things if it makes sense in their individual situation. Again, they're there while court is pending, or in between placements. If they're in a foster home and they lose that placement, they could be there while another one is being found.
And sometimes that's just the system, guys. There's so many elements to it that something expires or a statute doesn't work, or we as adults aren't able to figure it out yet. And I've had a young man in that system, and we've talked about that. And some of my favorite times, Kathy, his social worker, is now retired. Shout out to the shelter. You put together an amazing team. Yeah. They get to work. They eat together. They do classes together. They do a mural every year.
Yeah, lots of murals and lots of activities, and that applies to detention as well. It's about the relationships.
Yes.
It's about the kids and the staff, and it's their connection that really gets the most of any kind of intervention that we could do.
That's awesome.
And our philosophy in general with all the programs, and kids are at shelter on average 12 days. Kids are in detention on average 7 days.
Amazing.
Short.
Yes.
But one day, one interaction could have an impact on that youth. So that's really the whole point of it, that you need to always be aware that what you do, what you say, what you provide, opportunities that you might have for this youth could have a major impact. It really could.
I love that. Yeah, and even pre a kid, talk about preventive care, wherever you can step in, guys, as a neighbor or a church member or a friend of someone, and you see a child at risk, have those conversations. Sometimes, like John is saying, from studies and things I've read, sometimes it's just that human relationship. Fourth
program is our home detention program. So home detention works with youth who are able to be in the community while court is pending. So there are staff who go out and about to visit with youth at home, at schools, at work, wherever that may be, to hold them accountable, to provide support, to report back to the court if they're doing or not doing what they're supposed to, and to be sort of a mentor / supervision person that really is there to support parents, but also have a level of accountability that's necessary, because that youth is able to be at home and not at shelter or detention while court is trying to figure out what to do.
It reminds me of the phrase, it takes a village, right? Just like I referenced earlier, it's not just the kid or the kid issue, it's how can we help parents be better parents, or how can we help with those, navigate that. I love that. I want to put out a quick call, and we'll wrap it up. Foster, the need for foster care in Dane County. Many of you have heard this, that there's not enough foster homes. We've made concerted efforts on the side of the political side of things to try to get people to foster, but just how important that is, right? Like we don't have group homes either, do we?
There's no group homes in Dane County. They're all out of county. There's no residential care centers, which is a higher level of treatment where youth live. Those are all in different counties. There are foster homes in Dane County licensed by the county, as well as some private providers. But there's a need for more, and especially for adolescents, for youth that have some struggles. And it's not an easy job. It's not an easy relationship to have with a youth who's living in your home that might not be the most pleasant youth. But it's again about those relationships. And I know from the years of experience in detention that you know, kids might seem a little rough on the surface, but many of them are just really looking for attention and looking for an adult to be with them. So yeah, the more folks can get involved, and it's a big leap to be a foster parent. It's a big commitment, but there's many different levels of involvement through church, through other things, to provide that direction, like you said, Rick, that those words of encouragement, the just having the ability to spend a little bit of time with youth, either in a more structured, formal kind of intervention or opportunity, or informally. So there's a lot of people in this city, in this county, that are good-hearted, that have time, but I think might need a little bit more help navigating.
Absolutely.
How do I use my time and interest and talent to help? And churches are a great venue, and many other organizations are great venues to say, okay, this is where I think we could plug you in to provide some opportunities.
It's awesome. You know, from my experience, I remember reading in my CASA work, which is Court Appointed Special Advocate. We're there for the kids to help make connections and make sure they're taken care of while they're, you know, have been removed from a home. But for me, it was the adolescents. They're often, you know, what moves me, and I make a plea to y'all, to work with the 16, 17, 18-year-old child when they're ready to go into the world. And for me to know that I'm one of those people as they've gone into adulthood that they can look back at as family, because so many times they terminate the system. Our services have ended and they have no family.
Right, very limited, and that's a big gap in our system, and I assume it's state and nationally too, is those youth who are getting older and are becoming adults legally, but don't have the skills or the people in their lives to say, this is how you open a checking account. Right. These are some basic things that are easy to take for granted for most of us.
Absolutely.
Those simple things, I think there are plenty of opportunities to have an impact on youth and provide that help.
Like you said, you got that talent. Reach out. You guys can reach me personally. You can reach me right here at any of Rick Rose for Dane County, on my social media, on email, on the county site. How can they reach you, John, or how can they find more about what you guys do in Juvenile?
Yep, good question. So countyofdane.com, there are all the departments listed under one of the links, and the juvenile court program is my department. All my contact information is in there. Bauman, Bauman .John, JOHN, at countyofdane.com is my email, and 608-283-2925 is my phone, and I'm happy to talk to anyone and everyone. I get calls from strangers wanting to know how the system works, and I do the same with tours. I give lots and lots of tours, and there's confidentiality and things we've got to be a little careful, of course, but I give lots of tours, and I'm more than happy to talk to any groups or individuals to help explain the system and demystify it and try to figure out, are there places that you can help, and that's what it's about.
It's fantastic. You know, this is the second person of John's level that has given their personal phone to give a call to. They mean that, guys. I am so fond of the staff of Dane County and all the work you do. John, thanks for joining us, and thanks for sitting in the hot spot.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rick. I appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks, guys.
Thanks.